Nadia Brydon, and I'm a medical herbalist, a nutritionist and a raw food chef. And I'm going to do a session for you today on how to make green savoury smoothies for helping to support your immune system. In my many years of practice, I have found that the most important thing for helping our health, whatever it is, and for helping to support the immune system are green leafy vegetables. But most of us don't eat enough of them, and most of us don't eat enough of them when they're raw. And when they're raw, they contain the most nutrition of any plant or any food that we eat on a daily basis. So if we can make a green smoothie every day, I have found that it really helps to support energy, it helps to improve sleep, it helps to support the immune system. Because why does it help to support the immune system? Well, actually, 70 to 80% of the immune system is in the gut. And if we can keep our gut healthy and we can keep our gut fed with the highest nutrition that we can, because you see, health is all about assimilation and elimination. If we're eliminating efficiently and assimilating the nutrients that we need and the proper nutrients that we need, we're going to have really, really good health, and we're going to be able to fight off infections, and we're going to have lots of energy. And in fact, I found it so helpful with my patients that I decided to do a master's degree in international public health nutrition about 4 or 5 years ago, with the sole purpose of doing a clinical study on the effect of green smoothies on a daily basis in a normal daily diet, just for 3 weeks in type 2 diabetics. The fact that it was type 2 diabetics as my population that I did the study on was because I needed a population of some kind of just a standard population, but actually it really goes for anybody. And I found that if you have this green smoothie every day, even if it's just for 3 weeks, I found that in the study that energy was improved by 20%, sleep was improved by 25%, and overall symptoms were improved by 50%. Now, for 3 weeks, just to add in a green smoothie every day and not taking anything else out of your diet, not changing anything, can have such a profound effect. And it also, I think, helps to motivate one to eat in a slightly healthier way, because I did also find that people ate more fruit and vegetables as a result of it, because it just inspired them to do so. So first of all, what we have to do is look at what kind of machine we're going to be using for our green smoothie. You can either use a blender, and this here is a blender. This is actually a Vitamix, which is quite an expensive blender, but you don't need an expensive blender. You can actually get yourself a smoothie maker. Now this, for instance, is a smoothie maker here. This one is a 1000 watt. It's a Heston Blumenthal Boss to Go. And I think they cost about £80, but there are some really good smoothie makers out there that are cheaper. There's the NutriBullet, which is very popular. There is also, you can buy very cheap ones for £20 or £30. You don't need to spend a huge amount of money. A blender, this particular blender is unfortunately extremely expensive. It's £500, but to be honest, it's in my view, it's the Rolls Royce of blenders, and it will last you your lifetime. But if you don't know if you want to do smoothies on a daily basis, then just get yourself a cheap smoothie maker. Now, a lot of people don't realise the difference between a smoothie maker, a blender, a food processor, and a juicer. Now, a juicer, this is, for instance, a juicer. Here we've got a juicer. And what a juicer does is it separates the pulp from the juice. And I will show you, if there is time, hopefully in the 30 minutes, how to do a juice as well as a smoothie. A food processor really is something that just chops food up and mixes it around. So you don't want to use a food processor to make a smoothie or a juice. To make a juice, you need a juicer. And this is an example of a masticating juicer. And this one cost about £250. And you can get much cheaper juicers. Now you can get a centrifugal juicer, which has a basket that spins. And you can get those for about £20 or £30, but unfortunately they do not juice leafy greens. They will juice apples and cucumbers and celery and things like that, which is fantastic. And I would recommend that, you know, we have a juice, even if it's from a centrifugal juicer. But I think it is important, if we can, to be able to juice dark green leafy vegetables, such as, you know, spinach, which is spinach here, which is grown from my garden, which is organic, and here, which we've got a dandelion. And I really, if you can get fresh organic dandelions, then I would really recommend as well putting dandelions in your juices and smoothies. But we're going to be talking about those a bit later. But you know, we don't have to complicate our lives. We can have very simple things like spinach and celery and cucumber, and juicing carrots is also really good because of the beta carotene, which is extremely important for our immune system as well. So I'm just going to put this on the side, back on the side, and I'm going to concentrate now on looking at making a smoothie. So I've got behind me here, I've got a basic green smoothie recipe. So this is actually what I did my study in at Westminster University, more or less. So I'm suggesting, as an example, 300 mils of water. I would recommend spring water rather than tap or filtered, because, you know, when we're talking about doing smoothies and juices, where everything has to be raw and it needs to be fresh and, if possible, organic. Now, the reason is because that gives us the most nutrition. And the thing is about water is also, you know, like our vegetables, is living. But the more processed anything is, whether it's our food or it's our water, it's not as nutritionally beneficial. So tap water, filtered water, is often tap water that has had the chemicals removed, or as much as possible out of it, but it's still going to be tap water, and tap water is very processed. And so it's much healthier to have spring water if you can, and if you can get bottled spring water. I'm really lucky here in Wales because I have my own spring, but that's very unusual for people to be able to have that wonderful benefit. But you can buy spring water in glass bottles, which I would recommend, or, you know, plastic bottles is not such a good thing. Obviously, we're trying to reduce our plastic in at the moment. But anyway, so 300 mils of spring water. Now you can use a bit more than that, because I think the texture of a smoothie is very individual. And, you know, if something's too thick and it's not so nice, then we would, you know, not enjoy it as much. So plus or minus however much water, but we'll go over that in a minute. Now, in my study, I said 120 grams of dark leafy green vegetables. Now that's actually 1.5 portions of dark green leafy vegetables. In the UK, we're advised to have 5 portions of fruit and vegetables a day, but it doesn't really necessarily advise what kind of vegetables or what kind of fruit. But some countries recommend that at least 2 of those vegetables should be leafy greens, because the leafy greens contain the most nutrition. And if you boil or steam or cook your leafy greens, you're going to be losing a lot of those important micronutrients. And I'll be talking about the micronutrients that are so important in those leafy greens. But so 120 grams of dark leafy greens. Now this, for example, is 120 grams of dark leafy greens. I've got here 80 grams of spinach, and I've got here 40 grams of rocket, together with some dandelion leaves. And I feel that dandelion leaves, if one can get them, are really important because they're like a herbal antibiotic. And, you know, they're one of, you know, in England, it's 10 months of the year, we can just pick them from our gardens instead of putting them on the compost heap if we are lucky enough to have a garden. So 120 grams of dark leafy greens. Now here I've put spinach, kale, dandelion leaves, lettuce, pak choi or bok choy, parsley, celery tops, beetroot tops, coriander greens, lamb's lettuce, mint, pea greens, rocket, baby leaves. It doesn't really matter. The important thing is that they are dark green leafy vegetables, because dark green leafy vegetables contain the most micronutrients, the most nutrition. So that's really important as one of the ingredients. The other really important ingredient is 120 grams of non-leafy greens. Those are much more watery vegetables, such as cucumber, celery, fennel bulb, broccoli, or say sugar snap peas as an example, or mange tout. It doesn't necessarily have to be green. You could do mouli. You could actually, the idea with this smoothie is to reduce the amount of sugar, because when people think of a smoothie, they often think of fruit. And so what I'm trying to do here is to increase the bitter and astringent taste, because fruit has the sweet taste, the sugary, and even carrots have a lot of sugar in, and beetroot. Now beetroot and carrots are really, really important, and you could put if you want a little bit of the sweet taste, you could put beetroot and carrots, or you could put in some, bell peppers, and because they are slightly sweet, but they're not sugary like say a pear or an apple or a banana. So that's 120 grams of non-leafy greens, which is 1.5 portions, and 1 portion is 80 grams, and so 1.5 portions is 120 grams. So what we're having in this green smoothie is actually 3 portions of greens, and that's the key to this smoothie. That was the key to my study. And then everything else after that. So basically those first 3 ingredients are the most important. The water, because you cannot blend your greens and your non-leafy, your dark greens and your non-leafy greens without having water. When we make a juice, we do not add water, we just juice it, and I will show you how to do that in a minute. But so we're having 120 grams of dark leafy greens, 120 grams of non-leafy greens. Now the rest of it is also important, because nutritionally, but also from a taste perspective. When we actually make a recipe, we really should have all of the 6 tastes, which are the sweet, sour, salty, bitter, astringent, and pungent. And so the dark leafy greens tend to be the bitter and astringent taste. So if we want to add in the sweet and the sour and the salty and the pungent, we can add avocado. And avocado is very, very high in healthy fats, but also there are certain fat-soluble vitamins, which are A, D, E, and K, and it does actually help to our body to absorb those fat-soluble vitamins and minerals if we have a little bit of fat in the smoothie. Now we could put in, as an example, 30 grams of avocado, or you could put in, say, fresh linseed oil. Now I would say 10 grams, which is of linseed oil, which is 2 teaspoonfuls. Now, if we're talking about linseed oil, you really need to have fresh linseed oil. Now I would recommend the linseed oil from the Linseed Farm, and that's www.thelinseedfarm.co.uk. Now, the reason I'm specifically mentioning linseed oil and it being fresh is because linseed oil is very easy to damage in light and oxygen. So we should always keep it in the fridge. We should buy it from a fridge if we're buying it from a shop, and you should always have the pressing date on it, because it only lasts about 2 or 3 months in the fridge, in the dark, away from oxygen. You can actually freeze it. You could put it in the freezer to keep it fresher longer, but when it starts to taste bitter, it then has become oxidized and it's rancid. So fresh linseed oil is very high in omega-3s, as is avocado, and that's really good for our immune system, but very good for joints, and our gut and our brain, and it's a way of actually having omega-3s instead of having lots of fish. So then we have, I've got here 2 teaspoonfuls of lemon or lime juice, and you need it to be fresh, not the variety that you buy that's not fresh. And then we have some ginger. I've got here 10 grams of ginger with the skin. You need to have fresh ginger, not dry ginger. Dry ginger is, apart from the fact that dry ginger is very heating, fresh ginger is very warming, and it just sort of adds a warming texture. But it's the pungent part of our smoothie. But also we've got here half a clove of fresh garlic. That's also pungent. That was also quite warming. Now, again, not everybody likes garlic, so it's optional, as is the ginger is optional, and the lemon is optional, and the avocado is optional. And I've put here 4 cubes of ice. Now the reason why I've put 4 cubes of ice in the smoothie as well is because when we're blending very fast, it oxidizes, and when you oxidize the nutrients, it reduces the nutritional benefits. So because it heats up, when you're spinning very fast, it does slightly heat up the smoothie. So if you put in 4 ice cubes, if you're able to, it will keep the temperature down and reduce oxidation. So this is, if you like, a basic smoothie. And but as I said, the most important part of it is the water, the dark leafy greens, and the non-leafy greens. After that, you can sort of add what you like. Now, it depends on what you're making your smoothie for. Are you making it because you want better sleep? Are you making it because you want better energy? Are you making it because you want, to alkalize your body? Because you may have too much inflammation or acidity, or you've got joint pain, for instance, because you can adjust the smoothie medicinally according to your particular condition and according to your particular constitution. So if we wanted, for instance, to make a smoothie that would help our sleep, then we would add in as some of our leafy greens, we would add in lettuce, because lettuce has a sort of soporific chemical in it, so it really, really helps with sleep. The other thing that really helps with sleep is fennel bulb. Now, I don't have a fennel bulb to show you at the moment, but fennel bulb and lettuce would be really, really good if you wanted to improve your sleep. If, for instance, you have joint pain, you would have all the leafy greens, but you would also add in something like turmeric, but it needs to be fresh turmeric. And we're only talking about fresh fruits here, not drieds. Well, having said that, I am going to make some suggestions about seaweeds and algae in a minute. So here we have a fresh turmeric root. So the curcumin is very anti-inflammatory. It's very good for the liver, very good for the pancreas, very good for many things. And then ginger is exceptionally good also for joints. So I would also put in, if you can get aloe vera, fresh aloe vera leaf. So if you've got a joint problems, you put in all the greens, but you also add in the fresh linseed oil, because that's particularly good for joints. You would add in the ginger. I would add in also the garlic. You would have the fresh turmeric, the aloe vera, but also I'm going to talk to you a little bit about adding in things like seaweeds and algae. Now, this is chlorella, which is a single-celled freshwater algae. Now, it is particularly good for the digestion. It's very, very helpful for joint issues and the gut and the immune system, because we are talking about very much in a minute the immune system, because it's extremely high in natural vitamins and minerals. It's just a single-celled algae that has been air-dried, and it's got virtually nothing else in it. It's totally pure, and it's very, very high particularly in vitamin D, but D2 and vitamin B12 and iron and a number of other nutrients. And I always put chlorella into my smoothies. I do particularly recommend Sun Chlorella because it's a very, very pure brand. It's very, very ethically grown, and I would definitely recommend that you use Sun Chlorella if you're going to use chlorella. Now, the other thing that I particularly like to add into my smoothies is spirulina. Spirulina, there's a lot of research also done with spirulina and viruses. So putting in 5 grams of spirulina is also very helpful. And the other thing is that I like to put in are seaweeds. Now, so for instance, kelp granules, I forgot to put it on my table here, but kelp is very high in iodine, and one of the most important things for our health is to have a healthy thyroid function, and kelp and any seaweeds is very, very important and very useful for that. So putting in seaweeds is really helpful. So here I've put here, include for extra immune boost. So I'm going to show you what is useful for particularly boosting your immune system. Is what's really important is zinc, and we can get zinc naturally in a lot of seeds, but particularly pumpkin seeds. So here, somewhere here, we've got some pumpkin seeds. So here we've got some pumpkin seeds. So if you put about 20 grams of pumpkin seeds into your smoothie, that will really, really help to boost your immune system as well. So the other thing is folate is extremely important. Now, folate is in all the dark leafy greens. So any folate, fol means leaf. So anything that's leafy and green is going to be helping your immune system. The other thing that's really important about using dark leafy greens is we often think of all the vitamins and minerals and all the micronutrients, but the thing that people mostly seem to forget about is chlorophyll. Chlorophyll, in my view, is the most important nutrient that we have on the planet. Chlorophyll is what produces the oxygen that we breathe. If we didn't have chlorophyll, we would not be alive. So the more chlorophyll that you can put, natural chlorophyll, a living chlorophyll that you can put into your daily diet, the more it is going to help your body, your oxygenation of your tissues generally. But I find that, you see, the key to all these leafy greens and the key to even the non-leafy greens is the chlorophyll. And it's also about the life force. The more living a food is, the more alive a food is, the fresher the food is, the more nutrients that you're going to get. And also the more oxygenation of your tissues, the better function, the more ability to also, what the greens do, especially in the smoothie, is they act also as a probiotic. Now, a lot of people are not used to eating a lot of greens. So I would suggest that if you are not used to eating a lot of greens, you actually then halve this quantity or even have a quarter of this quantity every day. Because if you're not used to eating raw greens, what raw greens do is they help to clean out the body, and it will clean out the body too quickly. And what you might do is you might get some bloating, you might get a bit of nausea, you might get a headache, because your body is detoxing, it's cleaning itself out. And so it might just be too much too quickly. So if you're not used to eating raw greens, then halve this quantity and then build up to this quantity if you can. So, if you can have this quantity every day, and it makes 2 glasses. And I would recommend that you do it, and you make your smoothie before breakfast. You have it as your breakfast or before your breakfast, the first glass, and the second glass you have mid-morning or before lunch. So then we've got here vitamin C. Well, we think of vitamin C as very high in things like oranges and lemons and limes, but actually vitamin C is very high also in spinach and kale and bell peppers. So there's a lot of vitamin C in all these leafy greens. Then we've got here selenium. Now, selenium is extremely important for our immune system. And the interesting thing is 1 Brazil nut is enough, provides your daily recommended amount of selenium. But also Garlic has selenium, and sunflower seeds, and many other nuts and seeds, but particularly the nuts and the garlic. So vitamin E, almonds, hazelnuts, sunflower seeds, spinach, broccoli. So again, vitamin E is going to be in your greens, but you can add in some more. So you can put in some nuts or seeds as well. So vitamin A is actually beta carotene, and those are the carotenoids, such as anything that is in a yellow or an orange food. But particularly we know of it as being high in carrots, but in sweet potatoes, in bell peppers, yellow peppers, anything. And mangoes as well. And I'm not so much talking about fruit today, I'm more talking about vegetables, but particularly the greens. But the beta carotene is in the greens, as in the carrots, in the yellow. And then the vitamin D, well, we get our vitamin D, don't we, from the sun. But in England we don't have a lot of sun, and because it's cold we cover up, and so we're not necessarily getting enough vitamin D. Now I have found, so a lot of people take a vitamin D3 supplement, but I'm not very keen on supplementation. If we can, to try and have it in the diet. I have had absolute miracles with people, when we've added in chlorella into their smoothies, and all you need is 3 grams, which is just the equivalent of a teaspoonful, or it's 15 little tablets, and you've no idea how important vitamin D is for the uptake of calcium, for our bones, for our immune system, and our just overall general health and well-being. If we're low in vitamin D, we have bone pain, we have bone aches, we get frequent infections. So important, particularly at the moment, to be putting in vitamin D. And vitamin D is not common in fruit and vegetables, in foods so much, but it is very, very high in the chlorella. And the thing is about the chlorella, it provides more than your daily amount. But what you don't need, your body will excrete. But the thing is about supplements, of any supplements, there's always an upper limit that you can take, because they're a sort of individual micronutrient, and when it's in a plant, it's in its natural balanced form, and it's very safe and completely non-toxic. So spirulina, chlorella, and the seaweeds, you can take quite safely, in quite high doses, because whatever your body needs, it will use up, and whatever it doesn't need, it will just excrete it. So then things like turmeric, which we've talked about, which is very anti-inflammatory, and the ginger. Now, people are quite worried about the oxalic acid in spinach. If they have too much spinach, you'd have to eat an awful lot of spinach to really to overdose on the oxalic acids. But the thing is to have a variety every day of greens. If you have a tendency to making stones, then probably keep your oxalic acid foods low. Now, what foods are high in oxalic acids? Well, spinach is well known for being high in oxalic acid. Beetroot tops, chard, for instance, is quite very high in oxalic acids. And the other thing is sulforaphanes in the brassicas, in the cabbage family. So what is the cabbage family? Basically, that's rocket, it's watercress, it's kale, it's broccoli, it's anything from the cabbage family. It's quite high in sulforaphanes. Now, sulforaphanes can be, for people who've got low thyroid function, it reduces their thyroid function. It just reduces the uptake of various vitamins and minerals. So it's for somebody who's got a normal thyroid, it's totally fine to be having raw rocket, raw kale, raw brassicas, and you'd have to really eat an awful lot of it. But if you are worried about it, then you could always get your thyroid tested and just make sure that your thyroid function is running optimally. So then we've got seaweeds, which is very high in iodine and very important for thyroid function. and then the fresh aloe vera. There are so many other things that you can put into smoothies, such as Maca Powder, which is a Peruvian root, which is really good for balancing hormone function. So if, for instance, somebody has got, period problems, then I would, or things like acne, which is sort of hormone-related issues, then I would suggest putting some Maca Powder into a smoothie. And then, if somebody's got, for instance, poor eyesight or something like that, I would recommend putting in blackberries, blueberries, things like that. So, but the thing is, we're focusing today on the immune function. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the Vitamix. So I'm going to put this bullet down to the side, and then I'm going to get here my Vitamix, and I've just prepared the smoothie here. So we're going to start off, I'm going to put it like that. So I'm going to start off by putting in water. So I'm not measuring it at the moment. I'm just going to put in just a little bit of water to start with. If you're using a blender, I would add in the water first. If you're using a bullet, you add in the water last, because with a bullet, what you do is you've got your jug here, and you actually put in the ingredients first, and then you put the water in last, and you put the water to a maximum. It's got a line where you put the maximum amount of water, and then you put the blade on top of it, and you blend it, and it's an enclosed capsule. But with a blender, it's not enclosed, so we put in the water first. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put in I'm going to put in my 80 grams, no I'm not, I'm going to put in, when you're doing a blender, you put in your larger, more solid ingredients first. So I'm putting 80 grams of cucumber into my blender, and then I am going to put in 30 grams of avocado, which is very high in omega-3s and the healthy fats. Then I'm going to put in 10 grams of the fresh ginger with the skin, and then I'm going to put in half a clove of garlic, and I'm going to put in 2 teaspoonfuls of lemon juice. I'm putting in 15 tablets, which is 3 grams of chlorella, and I'm going to be putting in here 40 grams of celery. I'm a very, very keen advocate of celery. I find it's absolutely brilliant as an anti-immune system. And then here we're going to put in our spinach, and that's 80 grams of spinach. Now, spinach is extremely high in iron and also vitamin C and lots of other minerals, and also calcium as well. And believe it or not, protein. People think that you only have protein if you eat a steak or fish or an egg. But actually the steak and the fish and egg has got its protein from greens or from fruit and vegetables, because protein is made up of amino acids. So what you're actually getting, I'm now putting in, by the way, dandelions. So the amino acids in our leafy greens are a complete protein, as long as you're having your daily supply of essential amino acids. You'll be making enough protein. It's very, very rare to have protein deficiency anyway, and it's very, very hard to be deficient in protein in our diet, because the protein is what the animals, the protein is the animals that if you're not a vegetarian, the animals eat the leafy greens, and so they get enough protein. So now I'm just going to put a little bit more water in. Now I'm actually not putting any ice in, although I do recommend that you put ice, simply because I forgot to take the ice out of the freezer before I did this class. So now the other thing, what else could we put in? We could put in some spirulina as an example. So this is an immune boosting. I forgot to bring a spoon So I'm going to put the equivalent of a teaspoon of spirulina on my knife into the smoothie. And let's put as well a little turmeric root in, and we're going to put some zinc. I'm going to put in the pumpkin seeds. So that is 20 grams of pumpkin seeds. So let's just take the end of the, yeah, there we go. Do wash your fruit and vegetables first. This is turmeric, so I'm going to put the turmeric root in. If you've got a blender like this, it doesn't mind putting, when you put everything in and then you blend it. But if you've got a slightly cheaper version of a blender, you probably need to put in every ingredient and then just blend it a little bit, and then put in the next ingredient and just blend it a little bit. So I'm just going to move this to the side because we don't need this anymore. And so what I've put in is I've put in some dandelion, which is so important in my view as an anti-infective. Very good for helping the immune system, very good for keeping us healthy. Now you could put in, I don't know, 10 grams, 20 grams of dandelion. It's quite bitter, but if you've got all the other ingredients, you will find actually that the blended taste. So we've got all the 6 tastes. We've got the sweet taste has actually the cucumber and the avocado, because they are both fruits. Although they don't have a lot of sugar in them, they are considered to be the sweet taste. So then there's with the sour taste, we've put in the lemon juice. We could have put in lime juice. The salty taste, there's a lot of sodium in celery. So the celery is sort of kind of done, put in the salty taste. But we could have, for instance, put in seaweed as the salty taste. You know, we can put in granules of kombu. So then we've got the pungent taste. We've got the ginger and the garlic as the pungent taste. And then the bitter and astringent taste are all the dark green leafy vegetables. So we've got an overall blend of those 6 tastes, which is what we really need when we're making up a recipe, and that really helps the recipe to taste good. So now we're going to blend it up, put it on firmly as possible. Right. There we go. Now, so we've blended it up. So I'm just going to have a little quick taste of it just to see what it's like before I put it in a glass. So it's always a good idea just to taste it first, just to see if you need to adjust a little bit more of the salty taste, or a little bit more of the sour taste, or whichever taste you want to put in and make more predominant. Because not only has it got to be medicinal, but it needs to also taste decent, because otherwise we're not going to be motivated to have it every day. And that is absolutely delicious. I did rather put in probably more water than I should have done. So now what we're going to do is put it into our glass. There we go. And here we have a glass of the most healing, healthy food that we can possibly put into our body. So if you have, it does look rather a lot here, but actually I did put in a bit too much water, and it is a bit too much liquid. There's too much liquid in it, but it doesn't really make any difference. But have 1 glass for breakfast, or 1 glass before you have your breakfast, and that will help to balance your blood sugar levels as well. Because if you eat a very high carbohydrate breakfast, you know, by 11 o'clock you'll have a sugar dip, because your sugar goes spiking up when you have the high carbohydrate breakfast. It then plummets down, and then at 11 o'clock you want to nibble something. But this should take you right through to lunchtime, or if you feel like having another glass at 11 o'clock, and then try and finish it off, the rest of it, by lunchtime. You can put it into the fridge, into a glass container, airtight, in the fridge, if you're not drinking it straight away. But I would not keep a smoothie overnight, and really, if you can, have it within 6 hours, absolute minimum, because the longer a smoothie is kept, then the less nutrition it's going to be. So, and this is absolutely delicious. So let me just taste it. It's really, really lovely. So I shall enjoy having that after I finish doing this video. But really, what the whole thing is with the greens and with the vegetables is that you're reducing down your sugar and increasing your micronutrients as much as possible. So here what I've done is I've just done a little bit of juicing here, and let me just take this away. Let me just put this on the side. It's still dripping a little bit, so I'll just put that there. Right, so get our juice. So you can see we've put no water in the juice. We have just juiced it, and here we have this absolutely lovely juice here. And this is the most, with the juice or the smoothie, is so beneficial for the immune system, and it will really, really give us so much energy, in much improved sleep. And let me just taste this now. Absolutely delicious. So this has got ginger, this has got lemon, it's got dandelion, carrot, cucumber, and some spinach. So that's about it, I think. I think I've covered everything, and yeah, there we go. And so I hope you've enjoyed the juicing session and the smoothie session, and if you would like to contact me, my email address is nadia.brydon@gmail.com. I do Skype sessions and Zoom sessions, or WhatsApp sessions, or obviously at the moment we can't see anybody face to face. I am in Wales, in the Brecon Beacons, and I am in the process of setting up this beautiful property as a retreat centre where people can come for a weekend or a week to detox, or to just learn how to do raw recipes, to have treatment, acupuncture. But obviously at the moment we can't be doing any acupuncture or any one-to-one therapies. But I do also have some self-contained units, so people can come and stay, and it's beautiful countryside, absolutely miles from anywhere, and totally unpolluted, with its own spring, and just absolutely idyllic. So if anybody is interested in finding out more information about my retreat centre here in Wales, or would like to contact me, or have any questions about my juicing or my smoothie session today, please do email me at nadia.brydon@gmail.com, and I look forward to hearing from you. So you take care, and I hope to speak to you soon. Bye bye.